NFL divisional debate coverage on a weekly basis from your favorite content creators across YouTube. Featuring the AFC East Roundtable live Monday and Wednesday evenings. The AFC South Roundtable live Tuesdays at 7 p.m. EST. The NFC South Roundtable live Tuesdays at 7 p.m. EST. The NFC West Roundtable live Tuesdays at 9 p.m. EST. The AFC West Roundtable live Tuesdays at 9 p.m. EST. The NFC North Roundtable live Wednesdays at 6 p.m. EST. The AFC North Roundtable live Wednesdays at 6 p.m. EST. The NFC East Roundtable live Thursdays at 6 p.m. EST. Roundtable Sports. Real coverage from real fans.
This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
What is going on, NFC South Roundtable? We got a special one for you guys kicking off here, as instead of breaking down a position, we are going to be breaking down each of your creators' thoughts in the NFC South with their final rankings and record predictions for each team in the NFC South. Of course, video brought to you by BetUS. We'll talk to you a little bit later how you can get a 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. But Berto, I think we got to just start with you. Why don't you go ahead and break this one down for me?
So clearly, as it states, 12-5 for my Atlanta Falcons, 9-8 for the Bucks, Saints, and the Panthers, 7-10. But like I was mentioning in the program before, man, naming a better team that's had a better offseason than these Atlanta Falcons. Really, the Falcons staying above the rest. Also, strength of schedule plays in our favor as well this year. So we got a tough slew of games at the beginning part. Then the Falcons kind of can just coast and just rip ass of the whole roster. I mean, sorry, the whole conference and the whole schedule that we have on hand. So 12-5 is an ideal record for these Atlanta Falcons. We've added so many playmakers on offense and defense that, man, I feel like this Falcons team is going to be something to be reckoned with. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, of course, I put them at 9-8. I know that they've been kind of the cream of the crop of the NFC, but I feel like they're going to really take, they're going to be 9-8. I think that Dave Canales thing is really going to be a thing come true, man. I think that you guys are going to feel that effect. The New Orleans Saints, man, I don't know what to say about New Orleans, man. What nice thing can I say about y'all, TJ? But 9-8 is what it is, man. Derek Carr, of course, leads it. You guys got a new up-and-coming coordinator, too, in Clint Kubiak as well. So, it's going to take time for that team to possibly, just bend it all together. 7-10 for the Carolina Panthers. It's just plain and simple, man. It's just you guys are rebuilding, but you guys have something inspiring in the works.
I love it. I love it. Clay, let's go ahead down to you. What do you think of Berto's rankings here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty generous on my end, giving me 7-10 wins. I think that's my surprise. I mean, honestly, that's a surprise for me. So I give him respect there for that. 12-5 though it's a bit of a stretch for me. I think listen, I think the Falcons seem to have built everything that they need to for the most part. Like, they were trying to patch up some things like a sinking boat with some duct tape here and there, but they brought in some decent guys. Now the problem is for me is I think there's a little bit of a shaky left guard position there, if I'm not mistaken, Berto, but other than that, I think the 12-5, I see it more as a 10-7.
Matthew Bergeron is a breakout candidate on that offensive line. He played spectacular last year, and he plays alongside an All-Pro in Chris Lindstrom as well. So his game is going to be elevated significantly.
So you are counting on Bargain Bin Solutions and on
it's a very hyped and worthy second round selection some years ago. New Orleans wanted him, Dallas wanted him, and so Atlanta just beat everybody to the punch and acquiring him. So don't sleep on Matthew Bergeron on that offensive line, man.
Fair. I'll give you credit where credit's due. But yeah, I think I mean, once we get to mine, I kind of see the Bucks and the Falcons very, very close. I see it more 10-7. You'll see that once you see mine coming up. The Saints, I have them at third. I think that's fine, but I think 9-8 is a bit of a stretch for them. I see them more at the 7-10, 8-9 range. And really for Carolina, him giving us 7 and 10, I'm really surprised by that. I was expecting more like 5 and 12, 6 and 11. But other than that, I mean, I think it's not too bad, not over, overdone.
All right. Some respect there. Some respect. Mr. Bucks Nation, what do you think about Berto's rankings?
I mean, dude, 12-5 is wild for the Falcons. This is a team that hasn't had a winning record, not just like double-digit wins, not just making the playoffs. I'm talking winning record since 2017. That's kind of wild to me. Also, I was just kind of looking back at 2020 whenever Raheem Morris, a lot of people kind of forget, Raheem Morris was the interim coach after Dan Quinn got fired. He went 4-7 with that 2020 Falcons team, and they brought him back, after they decided not to hire him that time around. Mm-hmm. So I don't know about all that, but 12-5 is wild again. Look, they've got some talent. They brought in some pieces, but is it all going to work? Are they going to hit on all of those pieces? We're going to have to wait and see. So, I would not have the Falcons at 12-5. Hey, to have the Bucks at 9-8. It'll be, as we'll see in my predictions, close to what I have predicted. Appreciate, given the Bucks winning winning record, but I think that the distinction or the difference between the Falcons record and the Bucks record it's a pretty big difference there. It's a pretty big difference there from 12-5 down all the way to 9-8. Saints being at 9-8, again, pretty close to what my prediction is going to end up being. Panthers being at 7-10. There's some, again, some 7-10 for the Panthers is pretty generous, and just again, Falcons at 12-5, just wild in my opinion.
Best quarterback in the NFC South, bar none. Offensive talent is there. Defensive talent is there. Why not the Atlanta Falcons? Why not?
You also got to remember, first-time offensive coordinator, first-time defensive coordinator.
That's okay.
Well, there you go.
That's okay, my friend. We're gonna ride with that, brother.
TJ, let's go on over to you. What are your thoughts on Berto's rankings here?
Look, I'm not gonna hate. I understand the excitement of him being Atlanta Falcon fan and what they brought in. I get it, but I think 12-5 is a little bit much, and I can understand why he would have them winning the division. But I mean, you're basically saying you're gonna sweep. Hey, I don't know, man. I think all these teams like gonna go 1-1 against each other. So that's 3 losses right there. So. Are you going to be beating everybody else? You know what I'm saying? You're just going to have 2 more losses after that? I don't know.
Put your check, TJ. Come on, man.
I can't. I'm trying to be serious here, man. Like, I just don't understand, why they feel like they just have such a competitive advantage over everybody else. I just don't. Like, Kirk Cousins is not that good. Like, he's straight, but I mean,
name another quarterback that was better in the last 5 years than Kirk Cousins.
The last 5 years? I mean, I can name plenty of them.
Okay.
Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Like, what are we talking about?
Statistically, this guy was the top quarterback for the past 5 years.
Who cares? Like,
last year, he was well on his way to being an MVP, unless unfortunately, he tore his Achilles.
If was a fifth,
we would all be drunk. I hear you. I hear you 100%. I hear you 100%.
I get you defending your guy, but what has he won? Like, he put up big numbers. Yeah, he puts up 300 yards, in big games. But what has he actually won? This is a guy who had Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, and still couldn't get his team to the Super Bowl.
And
what are we talking about here?
Yeah, and that's the knock on him.
Exactly.
So great opportunity to go ahead and right his wrongs now with this Falcons team.
Okay, I get it. Look, I understand.
Like Zach Robinson, you bring in a guy with all his accolades like Kirk Cousins. This guy is going to do great in this Atlanta system. The Falcons would have never targeted Kirk Cousins if he wasn't the guy for us. Clearly,
I get it. Look, Berto, I'm not hating. I understand.
I know you're not. I know you're not.
But I'm just saying though, man, Kevin O'Connell is a really good coach, man. Like, he can develop a quarterback, 100%. Man. He's been in some really good situations, man, and he has not been able to get them over the hump. Only thing that I'm saying is, like, I'm not trying to kill your optimism. I understand it. But all I'm saying is all of these quarterbacks have unanswered questions. And just to say that just because your team has Kirk Cousins, that's just gonna get us to like 12 wins. Like, I don't know about that, man. Like
We were a 7-10 win team last year with Desmond Ritter and Taylor Heineke. You don't think that Kurt can bring us 4 or 5 more wins with an even more stacked roster and even more offensive weapons? And oh, by the way, we remade the defense. You don't think the Falcons can make some significant noise? We were a 7-10 team the past 2 years with band-aids at the quarterback position. We've upgraded by 100 on this with Kirk Cousins, man. You really got you got to tell me with a straight face that you don't think it's out of the possibility that these Falcons could be the record that I stated because
I never said that, but all these teams have gotten better. Like, look at Carolina. Carolina had, like, honestly, the offense failed them boys last year. They played against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the very last game of the season. If they could actually muster up one freaking touchdown, they would have won that game. If that guy would have scored that touchdown instead of fumbling out the back of the end zone, they would have beat Tampa. So I'm just saying, like, all these teams have gotten better. To say that, like, just because you have Kirk Cousins and, you know what I'm saying, added a couple more guys, like, all these teams have added depth. You know what I'm saying? And they understand each other's tendencies. And winning the division was not that far off from any one of these teams. So all of these teams have upgraded. So all I'm saying, I'm not saying that they can't win a division. I would be a fool to not believe that. But all I'm saying is to say that just because Kirk Cousins is the quarterback of this football team after they went 7-10, I mean, to say that, I can't, man. Like, if you want to give me 10 wins, yeah. 12? You sweet, like, man, come on, man. I can't give it to you,
for the
Berto.
fences, man. But that's okay, and that's okay. I'm swinging for the damn fences, goddamn it. We've been in this rut for 7 goddamn years.
I hear you, man.
And we just ready to break out, man. And what better season to do it than this up and coming 2024 campaign?
Man, I hear you, man.
Clay, let's go on over to you now. Your standings are the same, but your record prediction for the teams, now those are a little bit different. Why don't you break that down here for us?
Yeah, Atlanta looks to, like I said, I think Atlanta has done everything enough to overtake the Buccaneers. Again, you are not the big brother until you take over the big brother. You to beat the man, you got to beat the man, as Ric Flair used to say. Woo! And you have yet to do that in 3 to 4 consecutive seasons. So, but listen, I think Atlanta has done the overhaul. They have essentially modernized this offense. They brought in a quarterback that will get most out of their talent. I get all that. They've done what they need to do to become a playoff team, and hopefully it comes to fruition for them. I'm going to give them the respect. Hopefully it does, right? But you also have a 3-game winning streak back last year before the Week 18 against us when we upsetted you. Right. And that was the division. And then you haven't secured your first home playoff game since 2016. I still think that there is still some work to be done for Atlanta. And again, I think Berto is really riding high with Kirk Cousins, but I think with Raheem Morris coming in there, they're going to ride the wave with Bijan Robinson in that backfield more than anything. But I got them at 10-7. I think if you look at their schedule, it's pretty easy for the most part, but there are some games in there that are going to be tough. When I look at Tampa is about the same thing. Back to back NFC South champs again. They've done everything they can to retain their title, I feel like. Okay. Now, of course, if they go out, get a guy like Yannick Ngakoue, well, as for Mr. Bucks Nation wants, it comes out, they're coming out of the bye scorching. I think they bring in a 4-game winning streak. When you look at their schedule, they stretch into that Sunday night football game against the Dallas Cowboys, and they couldn't get the job done there. So if anyone is going to stop Atlanta from win this division, it's going to be Tampa. All right, their commitment, getting everything they can out of this talented roster, everything, even in this exercise, they are a weak. And you go look at the Week 18 against the Saints and their schedules, that's the loss away from that 4th. I could see them losing that game to where they might lose the NFC South title. But from the schedule-wise, that's very close. I think those 10 wins are still enough for them to sneak into I think they're a wild card team at least for sure when you look at them. Now, for the Saints, for me, they've been flirting for a disaster for years due to the treatment of their salary cap. All right. That's the biggest issue I have for them. There have been signs on their end that is near from experiment that they've been conducting. And I think it won't fizzle out this season. I still think their defense is really good. The offense isn't bad, but it's not enough. I think they have a favorable end of schedule when you look at it. A couple of winless droughts there, but I think the Saints can come together, play for some pride there. Maybe they win 4 of their last 5 if you go look at that schedule. I think they can probably have a promising start. Of course, they're starting off with us, but we'll see. Maybe we surprise them week 1. Who knows? But and then Carolina, again, we know who we are, and everybody else knows who we are in this division. All right. We're a team that's trying to improve. We're just trying to improve our win total by 3 or 4 games from last year, right? We're not exactly earth-shattering anyone. This is a progress year, but I still think that there could be some surprises here, okay? You got a Bryce Young who's learning a new system. I think this offense will likely favor the ground and pound with Chuba Hubbard. And then once Jonathan Brooks comes back, the rookie out of Texas, who I think is going to be an absolute problem. This could lead to a slow but methodical offense approach that may not light up the scoreboard, but I think it's going to aim to control the clock when I look at this offense. Defensively, the Panthers are work in progress, but Evero has taken shit and turned it into gold. All right, that's what a defensive coordinator he is. That's how good he is. And he'll probably be out of here next year because he'll probably go get a head coaching job somewhere else. But with new faces at every level, I think it's going to take time for this team to find some chemistry. I just don't expect them just to, sprint before they learn to walk. So again, it's a progress year, but I still think there could be some chances of some surprises.
Berto, your thoughts on Clay's rankings?
Yeah, so here's a stat, right? Falcons lost 5 games, close games by 7 points or less with better quarterback play. If we would have had a Kirk Cousins last year, we're talking about the Falcons being at a 12-5 record again. Much like what I'm doing right now. So I think the Falcons really, with better quarterback play, is going to give us more wins. Obviously, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 10-7, 7-10 for the Saints. I mean, I don't know. I think that's pretty crazy. 7-10. I think the Saints, they're talented. I would go with the record that I gave them, 9-8. Carolina, like you mentioned, 6-11. You know what you are. You're a rebuilding team, and you have good pieces all around. But for my Falcons, man, if we had better quarterback play last year, we're talking about a 12-win team last year easily, and being declared the winner of the South. So I got to defend that, man. I still think we're a 12-win team, man.
All right, Mr. Bucks Nation, what are your thoughts here on Clay's rankings?
It's pretty interesting with the Falcons and Bucks. It's a very similar situation to what me and TJ, Bucks and Saints experienced last year, right? Like just kind of like a back and forth, maybe this is a thing that comes down to like a last week kind of situation. Just kind of a reverse for the Bucks, right? Where they don't win the division in this type of scenario, they end up winning it or losing it. Sorry. In the case of the Saints, I would probably have them a smidge higher. I'll talk more about the Saints whenever I get into my rankings, but 7-10, kind of just a smidge low in my opinion. Then for the Panthers, I agree. I mean, look, that's progress in my opinion for the Panthers, right? Like you gain 4 more wins there for Carolina than what they were the previous season, and you're just focusing about stability at this point. You're trying to make sure that things aren't continuously burning down around you anymore, and trying to find some form of stability in the organization. So really, like there's some things I like about it. For sure, it seems like in this scenario, both the Falcons and the Bucks would probably make the playoffs, which is, I could see that being a realistic scenario.
All right, and Timothy, why don't we get on into you and your thoughts here?
I can understand this. Falcons being 10-7, that was kind of like the realm that I had them in. And also with the Bucks. I have the Bucks, I have their record of being a little bit different. I just feel like Baker Mayfield is going to miss Dave Canales in some capacity. I think that guy's a difference maker. I think what Clay was alluding to, the confidence that he's seeing in Bryce Young, the way that he's playing, I think that, you need that quarterback whisper. And I think that he paid dividends for the resurgence of Baker Mayfield. So I think you might see a little bit of downtick of play from Baker. Not much, but, it could be like one of those games that have significant meaning. As far as the Saints being 7-10, like, I mean, I can kind of understand that. Like, questionable quarterback play, questionable coaching. Will Dennis Allen even survive the season? I mean, that is the narrative right now. But I believe in this defense. I think this defense will be the catalyst, help this offense in some games, in order to get them the ball back, maybe win by a field goal or something like that. So, I can understand the 7-10. As far as the Carolina Panthers, I think that the Carolina Panthers are flying under the radar. I think that a lot of people are looking at what they did last year, and I'm a firm believer in, what happened last year is last year. And when teams are, at the bottom, they're trying to find ways to get back to the top. And I just think that some of the issues that plagued the Carolina Panthers last year, they fixed them. And I think with that defense, along with these new offensive weapons that they have, they're going to be much better than a lot of people give them credit for.
Respect. Now, guys, real quick, we got to take a pause for the cause and give a shout out to the sponsors, not just of this video, but the channel all football season long. You guys know what we're talking about, the best damn sportsbook on the platform over at BetUS. Remember, guys, when you support the sponsors that support the channel, you are directly supporting everybody at Roundtable Sports and everybody that you currently see here on this panel. Link in the description box below, pinned in the comment section below. You guys can get a limited time exclusive offer with BetUS of a 125% sign bonus on your first 3 deposits all the way up to $2,000. Now, for those of you who don't know how a 125% sign bonus works, that's okay. Math sucks. Everybody's head hurts in today's society. I understand. Let me take a break for you. Let me do it for you, okay? Let's say you put down $100. That turns into $225 for you to play with. You don't just get it on your first deposit, not just on your second, but also on your third. More money you put in, the more money you're obviously going to get out. BetUS also has a 200% crypto deposit bonus, fastest payouts in the industry, fast and easy deposit and withdrawal process, 24/7 personalized service, 365 days a year, live wagering on all major games, best betting variety in the business. You guys can even get a 10% back on your net losses 2 times a year, and get this, BetUS can give you your very own personalized account manager. Now, real quick, a couple of really cool odds that I wanted to shout out here with BetUS. We have, and I want to give this one to you, Berto, AJ Terrell. He has over or under for interceptions, and it's only at 1.5. If you take the over of 1.5, it's plus 140. If you take the under, it's minus 170. What would you tell Falcons fans to do here?
Oh, man. This is going to suck, man. But AJ Terrell is not known for a guy to grab interceptions. He only has 4 for his career. His best season coming in 2021 where he grabbed 3. Last 2 years, 0 in the interceptions column. So I would go the under 1.5 interception. And that stinks to say. But AJ Terrell is more of a hip-to-hip guy. He's a great coverage guy. That's his game. That's his game. He's a shutdown corner by his own right in that capacity. But definitely do not look for him to be a ball hawk in this situation. So unfortunately, I would go the under 1.5 due to his play in recent years.
And Mr. Bucks Nation, they actually have one for your defense too. A guy that you brought back this offseason to a massive deal. Winfield also has an over or under of 1.5 interceptions. You take the over, it's minus 130. You take the under, it's even. What are you doing here?
Oh, absolutely taking the over. I mean, Winfield showed last year he's probably the best safety in the league. I mean, the dude can do it all. He can get interceptions. He can sack the quarterback. He can just everything that you want in a top tier guy, he can do. And he got paid as such this offseason. So I would easily take the over. I think he's going to continue to be a jack of all trades for the Bucs defense. So that's just easy money in my opinion.
You guys heard it here from your creators alone. Go ahead, take the under on Terrell and take the over on Winfield. But guys, make sure you check out BetUS, link in the description box below, pin in the comment section below to have a little bit of fun this extra football season. But of course, play responsibly.
Michael Vick here at BetUS.com. Get it all. Huge bonuses, great odds, a race book, live in-game betting, and a casino. BetUS, my online sports book and casino.
All right, Timothy, we got yours up next. Why don't you break this down for us?
All right, so I got the Saints at 10-7, and the reason I'm saying this is I think a lot of all of these teams in the division, the things that they were actually lacking, I think they kind of fixed. And what you have is a division that was already kind of extremely competitive. You add to the issues that each team had, I mean, you're going to find some levels of success. I just think that the addition of Clint Kubiak and the running of the football and taking the ball out of the hands of Derek Carr and also playing some really sound defense, I think is going to be beneficial to the New Orleans Saints. So I have them going 10-7. As far as the Bucks, I got them going 8-9. I mentioned Baker Mayfield. I think that Dave Canales was something that he actually needed. I mean, we see quarterbacks all the time when they lose that coordinator, that whisper. You see a little bit of a step back. We've seen it with Jalen Hurts, with Shane Steichen, for most recently. So I just feel like that's probably going to be the case with them. And also, I just feel like they have been the recipients of a terrible division. And I just feel like they kind of been right there. But I just think that the new additions and the fact that all these teams have gotten better, I think they're going to, fall back a little bit. As far as the Falcons, I just think they're going, they improve, but they got some question marks. Raheem Morris, I said it, before. I haven't really seen him develop any players defensively. Even what you said, Bucks Nation. I mean, he was what was his record? When he was the interim coach. So I don't think that is that significant. I do think that Kirk Cousins is probably going to play, a lot better than what Desmond Ridder did. But I just think that this division, they're going to be beating up on one another. And you also have a bunch of new parts, new coaches, new defensive coordinators. So sometimes it takes teams time in order for that to be figured out. So I got them at 8-9. And as far as the Carolina Panthers have always been, kind of competitive. Like ain't nobody really just beat up on them because of that defense. And like I said, that offense failed them last season. So you have a really good defense, and you combine that with the new weapons that they have, you're going to see improvements. And we also seen in an interview with Tua Tagovailoa when he was talking about Brian Flores. There's nothing like a coach that will motivate a guy, make him feel like he is Superman, make him feel like he is that guy. And I feel like that is something that Bryce Young actually needs, like, a pat on the back saying you're our guy. We're not worried about the whole size thing, people talking about you. We know that you are our guy. We know you are the franchise quarterback. That's the reason why we drafted you first pick overall. So that can go a long way for him. So I expect Bryce Young to play a lot better and with a lot more confidence now that he has weapons around him. So I got them at 7-10. And, I think the future is bright for that young team with that quarterback.
Wow. You definitely have different rankings than everybody else. I will 100% give you that, TJ. Mr. Bucks Nation, why don't you give me your thoughts on TJ's rankings?
Yeah, for the Saints being 10-7, we'll get into it a bit more in my rankings, but man, it's tough for the Saints. I feel like personally, I don't know if I can see genuine growth from them until they move on from the combo of Carr and Dennis Allen. It's just something I feel like it's really holding them back as a team. Bucks coming in at 8-9. I get it. It's what they did their last year with Brady, with Bowles as the head coach. They went 9-8 last year. They did bring back everybody. So, I think that's going to be a big determining factor is how good or how much better is the rest of the NFC South, to kind of be competitive with the Bucks there. So we'll see. Falcons at 8-9. Again, Raheem Morris was 4-7 when he was the interim coach for the Falcons. And then they had the chance to hire him and they didn't. They went with Arthur Smith. That didn't work out. So then they circled back to Raheem Morris. So I don't really know how that's going to go. That one isn't too far away from what I have the Falcons being. 7-10 for the Panthers. Again, it's a team that is still looking to show growth, still looking to show rebuilding and stability in their organization. So I would give it a little bit better than the Bucks, maybe another win or two. But and again, with the Saints, Carr, Allen, I'm not completely sold on those guys yet. But all in all, I mean, this seems like a pretty fine. They're fine. They're fine record predictions here.
They're fine. They're fine. Clay, let's kick this one on over to you.
Yeah, I mean, Other than the Saints being a 10-7 for me, I just can't. I don't see it. It's not really necessarily Derek Carr for me that I'm worried about. It's really Dennis Allen. Like, I just don't believe in him as a head coach, and I don't think a lot of people, even in that front office, believe in him. And I don't. And some of the players, you see it on the sidelines last year, and there's a lot of frustration in that locker room because of Dennis Allen. And I think we've seen it even with some of the Saints fan base. I've seen it on Twitter a little bit myself. So I think 10-7 is a bit of a stretch. That's why I had them at 7-10. I mean, you could possibly see them be an 8-9 win team. I think their ceiling's 9. I think the floor for them is 6 or 7 wins. But other than that, I still believe that the Bucs and the Falcons are the 2 teams to beat in this division, and I still see them both being 10-7. And but for Carolina and what TJ said for the Panthers, I mean, I really can't hate on him that much, especially for how much respect he gave my team there. And I really appreciate that coming from him. So, we'll see how it pans out, man. Like, again, any given Sunday, and once the real football starts, we'll know where each and every one of these teams are at.
For sure. Berto, your thoughts?
Yeah, pretty crazy, man. Yeah, and I'll piggyback off of what Clay was saying there with the Dennis Allen situation, man. Yeah, he's just not some coaches are meant to stay more as a coordinator than a head coach. I know for us, we had the whole Arthur Smith situation, and Dennis Allen, he makes a better defensive coordinator than he does a head coach. I would really much rather see Spencer Rattler at quarterback than Derek Carr. I think a better shot in this offense because of Clint Kubiak and how he designs some of his plays. They're really, they're good concepts, right? And Spencer Rattler, arm talent is there. The IQ, he still can elevate a little bit more. But I see great things coming from that young man. I think, but he gives you a better shot to get you to the 9-8 record that I originally had put up versus the 8-9 with Derek Carr and Dennis Allen at the quarterback. I mean, at the head coach position. The 7-10 Panthers, dude. I'm just waiting for Dave Canales just to be the whisper that he has been and just get into Bryce's ear. And the combination of him and Leggett, I think could be something special in the NFC South. So we just got to give that time. But a 7-10 record, hey, I'm with it because that's exactly what I gave it as well. You guys keep harking on the Falcons. Going back to the 2020 season when Raheem took over for interim when Dan Quinn was fired. You got to remember one thing, man. Maybe you guys don't, but I do. That was a terrible ass team that we had like no talent on that team whatsoever. So it was really hard to get behind this Atlanta Falcons team. Then Raheem wasn't working with really anything. What he has been able to is work on his coaching craft. He's been under some great minds, and I think the second opportunity that he's getting with Atlanta, he's going to prove a lot of the all the doubters wrong, man.
Yeah, Mr. Bucks Nation, last but certainly not least, you got some different rankings here, obviously, than everybody else. Why don't you break this down for us?
Yes, I called an audible. Fun fact for everybody, behind the scenes, I called an audible at the last moment at the line of scrimmage here.
During the live stream.
I did. So I originally had the Bucks being 9-8, the Falcons 10-7, swapped those. Like, the more I thought about it while we were talking, the more I thought, okay, I feel like Graham Barton's going to be a big deal. You bring in Ben Bredesen, a guy who started the whole season last year at left guard. Yes, I know it was with the Giants, and that's not fun, but he's still a starting caliber left guard in this league. It's another year of continuity with Wirfs, Gedeke, Cody Mock at the offensive line. Baker Mayfield's brought back. You add some more talent in that receiver room with Jalen McMillan, Bucky Irving at running back. On the defensive side of things, I'm still shaky on the pass rush. You did lose Devin White, but to be honest, Devin White was benched last year towards the end of the season anyway. So, that's going to be an interesting situation. You brought back Jordan Whitehead, which is a move I love for the safety position. And you just kept a lot of your core pieces around, right? You re-signed all of your big guys. I feel like they can improve from what we saw last year. I know a lot of the conversation is, losing Dave Canales, losing the quarterback whisperer that helped out Baker Mayfield. Liam Cohen, though, he's been an offensive coordinator in this league before. He's coming out of the Rams coaching staff, was at Kentucky last year, has a history with Baker Mayfield. They were together with the Rams whenever Baker Mayfield kind of revived his career a smidge while he was with LA, and he was working with a lot of backups during that time with LA. So Everybody knows that Todd Bowles really likes to dial up the heat as well as a defensive coordinator. So I feel good with the Bucks being 10-7. With the Falcons being 9-8, again, there's a few things that I think about with this. One, you have two new coordinators in Zach Robinson and their defense coordinator being two first-time coordinators. That kind of factors into it for me. Two, we've talked a lot about Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson at running back being a talented core there for the Atlanta Falcons. But with Kirk, again, he's coming off of a torn Achilles. He doesn't have Justin Jefferson anymore. He doesn't have a Adam Thielen in his prime anymore. He doesn't have but he does have these other pieces there. But like, how is Kirk going to bounce back? That's a big question. I just don't have a lot of faith in Raheem Morris, and look, this is an improvement, by the way. This is still a 2-game improvement from last year. So it's not, I don't think this is super bad. But I have a lot of experience with Raheem Morris as a head coach at the NFL level. He was with the Bucks formerly, and how it kind of went is he had a good first year and then just plummeted. So we'll see if the Falcons can kind of be a redeeming thing for Raheem Morris. With the Saints being 8-9, again, like I said, I just don't really fully believe in Carr and Dennis Allen. Another year ticks by. The Saints had added some pieces, but they still have some question marks, especially along the offensive line. And I just don't have a ton of faith in Carr and Dennis Allen in that combination. I feel like once they get a new head coach in, once they get, maybe it's Spencer Rattler, I would feel a lot better about the Saints and just their potential to grow and not just kind of be stagnant at where they're at. Finally, with the Carolina Panthers, again, hey, this is a 4-game improvement from last year. You show some growth, you show some improvement. Dave Canales, this is something you can build off of, right? In my opinion. So that's kind of where I have the rankings right now.
Berto, why don't you give us your thoughts on James' rankings?
Yeah. Look, man. Tampa Bay 10-7. Okay. So I'm a firm believer in this, that important coaches play a role into, maturation processes with their playmakers. And I feel like Baker Mayfield's going to take a step back, man. I know you spoke about Liam Cohen and the greatness that he's done in Kentucky, and he was on that Rams staff, kind of what like Zach Robinson is now as our first-year offensive coordinator. But I just really think that, Dave Canales was an elite whisperer at that position, hence the reason why, Baker was as effective as he was. But at 10-7, I don't know. I think you guys are more of that 9-8. For my Falcons, of course, I'll go back to this again, man. Better quarterback play last year would have resulted in the record that I put my Falcons at this year. And we've upgraded at that. So I don't know about 9-8. You talk about first-year coordinators. We had a first-year coordinator last year in Ryan Nielsen, who left to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we had a lesser talented defensive roster last year than we do now. So with Jimmy Lake coming in and him bringing that mentality that the Rams played with last year onto this Falcon team, a much talented Falcons defense at that. I think that both of those guys, Zach Robinson for the offense and Jimmy Lake for the defense, can bring out the best in these guys. Zach Robinson, as we all know, understudy to Sean McVay, so he knows exactly how to maximize the potential on each one of our playmakers, Kyle, Drake, Bijan, Tyler Algier, and the list goes on. New Orleans at 8-9. I don't know, man. Listen, we can sit here and hate on each other all we want. New Orleans has some good pieces. I think at 8-9, man, they're more got to flop that win and loss, man. I think New Orleans could pull off 9 wins. And Carolina again, man. I'll to what I said before, Dave Canales and Bryce Young, that's going to be an exciting thing to watch in years to come. But yeah, of course, you guys are in a rebuild, but you still have that defense. It's just that offense has to catch up to that defense in order for it to be a successful season, man.
Yeah, Clay, real quick, why don't you just give us your rankings here, or your thoughts rather, on James' rankings here?
Yeah, I think that Liam Cohen, he's going to have to solve this offense with Canales, jumping ship. And especially he needs to jumpstart that run game for them. I think Rachaad White is a guy that they need to kind of lean on a little bit more, take some pressure off of Baker, kind of have that balanced offensive attack. And then, you'll get that. And if he does that, he'll get that offense in a groove. You know, I think if the Bucks are going to improve on last year's record, and I still think 10-7 is still doable. They just need to shore up that defense, just like, you know, Mr. Buck Nation mentioned, going and get a guy like Yannick Ngakoue. That can definitely help, right? When we talk about, again, the Falcons, I still think that the bread and butter of this team is feeding the ball to Bijan. I think a guy who's an explosive running back can turn the tide of any game. But I still see them at 10-7 until proven otherwise. I think Raheem Morris is going to be a game-changing head coach, but in his first year and with a 35-year-old quarterback coming back after Achilles injury, I still need to see it happen, right? For the Saints, again, it's just been a roller coaster of inconsistencies last season. Again, for me, it's the same thing like Mr. Buck Nation said. It's the Derek Carr and the Dennis Allen show. Can they improve on last year? I think the biggest thing is that the defense for the Saints is still good. They're just not, and they're not giving up as many points, but the offense could find itself, you know, sabotaging its own self because of that offensive line. Definitely needs to be a little bit better because there is some question marks with Trevor Penning. So that's my thing with the Saints. So with his rankings, I like it. I still think the Falcons get 10 wins. Again, I can see the Saints 8-9, or, you know, like I had them 7-10.
All right, I love it. And TJ, real quick, why don't you just wrap us up, quick minute or two on your thoughts with James' rankings?
I don't have an issue with it. I understand, you know, him talking about his Bucks being 10-7. But I look at Tampa and I look at New Orleans. I kind of feel like they just in the same boat. They both have coaches. If they were in any other division, probably would be fired by now. And I just think that, you know, for the last couple of years, you know, they kind of been going neck and neck with each other, which Tampa, you know, has, you know, been, you know, winning the division, but the Saints have been right there. I mean, they had the same identical record last year. And as far as, you know, with the Atlanta Falcons, and, you know, I don't have an issue with them being 9-8. You know, I just think that, you know, they have some unanswered questions, you know, and I do question that their coaching staff right now. I think it just takes some time, you know, for teams to actually develop and be what they need to be. You know, I think that some of these teams are probably going to struggle because you have some new coordinators. So that's why I'm taking into account, not the fact that they're not talented, not the fact that they don't have all hands on deck, but you got to take that into consideration. I can understand the whole, you know, Dennis Allen, Derek Carr thing, but they did go 9-8 last year with a questionable offensive coordinator. So they fixed that issue. So will that pay dividends? We'll see. And as far as Carolina, I just think that they're going to be much better than people give them credit for. I can understand the 6-11 ranking. I had them at 7-10. I just think they're going to be. I think they're going to be a lot better. I think that, you know, Carolina is going to be one of those teams that nobody wants to play because they can always, you know, there's a chance that they can beat you. So I think they're going to be a fun team to watch.
Well, guys, that is going to wrap it up. That is the final thoughts. That is the final standings and record predictions from each of your teams here from the NFC South. Make sure you guys go ahead, like we mentioned earlier, check out BetUS, link in the description box below, pin in the comment section below for a 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, all the way up to $2,000. If you guys haven't already, go ahead and check out earlier this week when we went live to break down the preseason final game and, of course, roster cutdowns for each of these teams' 53-man roster. As always, though, we appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll catch you next time.